I mean, I've already communicated with Dallas how grateful I am because they've made this a home for me for the past years. And
Satou Sabally just made the smartest move of her career by signing with the Indiana Fever after 5 seasons with the Dallas Wings. You might be wondering why she decided to leave a solid team like Dallas. The answer lies in one name: Caitlin Clark. Clark is the rising superstar who's rewriting the WNBA history books, and Sabally's move positions her to play a pivotal role alongside this generational talent. It's a strategic decision that could elevate her career to new heights and set the stage for an exciting new chapter in Indiana.
You want to go to new things. Who don't want to come play for Caitlin Clark in Indiana?
Sabally recognized what the rest of us already know. Caitlin Clark has the power to change the trajectory of an entire franchise. With Clark leading the charge, Indiana is undoubtedly on the rise, and Sabally's decision to join the Fever aligns perfectly with this upward momentum.
And it looked like Satou Sabally possibly could be headed to Indiana. This very much has sealed the...
Sabally made the call to team up with Clark because honestly, why wouldn't you want to align yourself with someone destined to take the Fever to new heights? It's a bold and strategic move, and Sabally understands that the best way to soar is by joining forces with the player who's redefining the game.
Now, one player on the Dallas Wing team is up in the air, and that is Satou Sabally. Now, she is a free agent, and many people are speculating she could be headed all the way up to Indiana.
Satou Sabally just flipped the WNBA on its head by officially signing with the Indiana Fever. Let's get one thing straight. This is the kind of move that gets everyone talking. Sabally isn't just another player. She's one of the most versatile forwards in the league. Her 5 impressive seasons with the Dallas Wings were all about delivering results, averaging 15.7 points, 7 rebounds, and 3.6 assists per game. That's the stat line of a player you don't let walk away. Yet, here we are, and the Fever just pulled off the biggest heist of the year.
Now, everybody pretty much on the Dallas team has reacted to Paige pretty much coming to the...
Let's address the obvious. The Fever didn't just get lucky. They didn't stumble into this. It was a well-calculated move. With a cap space of $650,000, Indiana has been out here making boss moves. They're not sitting around waiting for a miracle, they're building one. And here's the kicker. Sabally's been eyeing this opportunity for a while. Don't believe it? Just look at her silence about Dallas's #1 draft pick, Paige Bueckers. She's
quiet online. Let's pull up her social media account right now, because I'm telling you guys, this was spooky. Now, as soon as this news came out, and I was just, trying to see what everybody was saying, and it looked like she had
not a post, not a tweet, not even a vague wish y'all the best, nothing. That's not just quiet, that's deafening. It's like Sabally had one foot out the door the moment the Fever came knocking.
The biggest question of the hour is, what do she feel about the Dallas Wings having this #1 pick? She has been extremely silent about it.
So what's really going on here?
While Indiana is celebrating like they just hit the lottery, let's shift the spotlight to Dallas. They should be basking in the glory of securing Paige Bueckers in the 2025 draft, a once-in-a-generation player who can effortlessly drop over 20 points a game. But instead of enjoying the moment, they're left looking like the team that misplaced their star player at the worst possible time. Signature line with Wilson and Nike redefined how athletes could market themselves and their sport. Now, Caitlin Clark is stepping into that legacy, showing that women can not only compete in this space but dominate it. It's no wonder the WNBA is buzzing, fans are celebrating, analysts are stunned, and critics, well, they're doing what they do best, criticizing. But let's not ignore the ripple effect this is causing. The WNBA, which has long been overshadowed by its NBA counterpart, is finally finding itself in the global spotlight, thanks largely to Clark. Her games are drawing record-breaking viewership, with national broadcasts pulling in over 1 million viewers per game. That's 3 times the league's average. Let that sink in 3 times. Now, if you think this is just a one-off, think again. Clark's impact isn't limited to TV ratings. Her presence has revitalized the Indiana Fever, transforming them into one of the most talked about franchises in the league. Fever merchandise sales has skyrocketed by over 1,000%, and arenas are packed with fans eager to see her in action. And it's not just the fans who are taking notice, brands are lining up to associate themselves with her. Nike, Gatorade, and Bose are just a few of the companies that have inked deals with Clark, solidifying her status as a global brand. Her Nike deal alone is worth a staggering $28 million, making her one of the highest-earning female athletes in history. This isn't just a moment, it's a movement, and Clark is leading the way.
Making her the first athlete since Michael Jordan to get their own signature basketball from Wilson. She also becomes the first WNBA player to get her own signature basketball from Wilson.
The WNBA is buzzing, and for good reason. Caitlin Clark has just cemented her status as a once-in-a-century phenomenon. She's become the first athlete since Michael Jordan to secure her very own signature basketball shoe. Yes, that Michael Jordan, the most iconic and valuable athlete in the world. This milestone not only underscores Clark's extraordinary talent, but also highlights her immense influence on the sport, putting her in the same conversation as basketball's greatest legend.
It was like Wayne Gretzky, Michael Jordan, probably eventually Caitlin Clark, where it's like individual people make an entire country tune into their sport.
1,000%.
Like hockey was never bigger than when Wayne Gretzky was playing it, and it was ridiculous how much it grew the sport.
Tiger Woods.
And Caitlin? She's already reached that level in just her rookie year in the WNBA. Her impact goes far beyond basketball fans. She's shaking up the entire sports world, proving that her influence is boundless and her star power undeniable.
Congratulations to her and her family.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is I'm just seeing her last year when they played LSU, but she's phenomenal.
Despite her achievement, Caitlin quickly found herself at the center of a media firestorm. The reason? Her honest remarks about privilege and race, which apparently struck a nerve with some people, proving that discussing these topics is still too much for certain individuals to handle.
I think Caitlin Clark is already one of the greatest women's basketball players of all time, purely for the fact of what she has done on the court and also the kind of eyeballs that she has brought to a sport that really never had this kind of fame behind it, this kind of fandom behind it.
After her Time magazine interview went live, the backlash came pouring in, with critics attacking every word Caitlin Clark said. But here's the twist: instead of backing down, Clark stood her ground. What followed was a wave of support from some of the most legendary figures in sports. LeBron, Serena, MJ, they all came out swinging to defend her. It was like the sports world's version of the Avengers assembling, and trust me, they were not here for the nonsense.
And I feel like you have had to answer more questions than anybody about the intersectionality of race and gender and sexuality in sport.
Caitlin Clark found herself at the center of a media firestorm, but it wasn't because of her record-breaking performances or her signature three-point shots. No, it was because she had the audacity to be competitive, a crime, apparently, when you're a woman. The backlash was as swift as it was ridiculous, with critics scrambling to label her a villain simply for doing what athletes do best, competing with passion.
I'm so focused and so competitive, and I love the game. I love playing. I love being in front of the fans. But over the course of probably the last two and a half years, it's all kind of changed where, it's hard to get a ticket whether we're at home or whether we're on the road.
And just when the noise from her critics reached a fever pitch, Caitlin Clark did what she does best. She took control of the narrative. In a bold and groundbreaking interview with Time magazine, where she was named Athlete of the Year for 2024, she dropped a truth bomb that sent the media and the world into a frenzy.
Feels the need to acknowledge her white privilege. Basically, she's sorry she's white. She feels really bad about it, though, so you should give her a pass.
In a world where accountability is often ignored, Caitlin Clark dared to admit that her success wasn't just about her relentless work ethic. It was also shaped by the privileges she was born with. And if you think that was the end of it, buckle up, because Clark wasn't stopping there.
Favorite player was Maya Moore. I know what this league was about. And like I said, it's only been around 25 plus years. So I know there's been so many amazing black women that have been in this league, and continuing to uplift them, I think, is very important.
Clark used her platform to shine a light on others. She acknowledged the foundational role that black athletes like Maya Moore played in shaping the WNBA, highlighting how their contributions were instrumental in getting the league to where it is today.
Things stemming from Caitlin Clark's Time magazine interview, I could have never guessed that interview would stir up so much controversy.
And the world, well, they didn't quite know what to do with her. Some saw her words as a breath of fresh air, an athlete who wasn't afraid to tackle the tough issues head on. Others, however, weren't ready for this conversation and lashed out.
The players of the WNBA can't fucking stand her. Why? Because she's white. It's abject, absolute racism.
Her unparalleled court vision and revolutionary passing ability elevated her game to a new level, making everyone around her better with every play. She transformed the Iowa Hawkeyes into must-watch television, captivating audiences and redefining what it means to dominate the court. Caitlin Clark's games weren't just selling out arenas, they were shattering viewing records. The 2024 NCAA Championship game drew an astounding 18.7 million viewers, surpassing the audience for many NBA and NFL games. She wasn't just a basketball player anymore, she had become a cultural phenomenon.
Decision to make, right? Like maybe in any other year, you give this to Simone Biles, because I think her comeback in the Olympics was amazing. I mean, people pretty much did the postscript on her career. And after what happened to her in Tokyo, like, it's incredible. However, I mean, we've never, ever seen somebody in this way capture an audience, capture a new audience, and be able to absolutely attribute.
What truly sets Clark apart is more than her ability to score from anywhere on the court, it's her relentless competitive fire. In practices, she would often stay late perfecting her signature step-back three-pointer. Her coaches later revealed that she frequently arrived hours before scheduled practices, tirelessly working on her game while most people were still asleep. Clark's influence on college basketball extended far beyond her personal achievements. She inspired a movement redefining the sport and showing what's possible with hard work, talent, and an unyielding passion for greatness. Jersey sales skyrocketed, ticket prices soared, and young girls across the country began mimicking Caitlin Clark's iconic playing style. Basketball camps saw record enrollments with aspiring players eager to learn how to shoot like her. Clark wasn't just a star on the court, she was a role model and an inspiration, igniting a new wave of enthusiasm for women's basketball. People don't just listen to her, they buy into her.
The reality is that from a marketing perspective, Caitlin Clark is worth more than almost any pro basketball player in the world.
Then there are her endorsement deals, which are in a league of their own. Nike, Wilson, State Farm, the big players in the game have all thrown their hats into the ring. Nike reportedly signed her for millions, and they didn't even need a pitch. Caitlin Clark doesn't need to convince anyone of her worth, her name does all the talking. State Farm probably broke their advertising budget just to have her appear in one of those quirky commercials. Wilson, the iconic basketball brand, practically wrote her a blank check. Each deal cements her position not just as a player, but as a global icon. The WNBA just got brutally exposed after Caitlin Clark's insane ticket sales were leaked. Turns out she generates 25% of ticket sales, merchandise, and TV ratings. Clark is basically the WNBA's walking stimulus package, bringing in millions for the league. Yet, despite all the revenue she helps generate, she's only making $76,000 a year. Let that sink in. The WNBA has a gold mine in Clark, but they're paying her like she's working the concession stand. It's a harsh reality. They might not have noticed, but Caitlin Clark doesn't just play basketball, she changes the game. Whether the league likes it or not, the fans are here for her. The numbers don't lie, and neither does the passion she brings to the court. So, WNBA, it's time to wake up, pay her, celebrate her, or watch her take her talents elsewhere. And we all know who would be losing in that scenario. Last season, Caitlin Clark didn't just play basketball, she transformed it into a national event. From sold-out arenas to skyrocketing viewership, the numbers were jaw-dropping. The Indiana Fever's home opener tickets hit $271 for the cheapest seat, more expensive than 29 out of 30 NBA teams' openers. Yes, you read that right. Caitlin Clark playing in a WNBA game generated more buzz than the NBA's biggest stars. For context, $271 could get you a decent seat at an NBA game or nosebleeds at a Caitlin Clark showcase. Talk about priorities. It's not just ticket prices. Clark reportedly added $36 million in revenue for the city of Indianapolis alone since being drafted. Let's be clear, that's not just the team, that's the city, restaurants, hotels, local businesses. They're all cashing in. Meanwhile, Clark herself gets pocket change compared to her impact. Fans are scratching their heads, wondering how the league justifies paying her the same as players who, respectfully, couldn't sell out a high school gym. Social media exploded when it was revealed that Caitlin Clark is responsible for 25% of the WNBA's total revenue. One player, 25%. The reaction was a mix of awe, outrage, and sarcasm. Comments like Clark is the reason this league is still afloat. And how does she not have her own private jet by now started flooding in? But the WNBA's response? Crickets. Let's not forget the TV ratings. When Clark played, her games often drew more viewers than marquee NBA matchups. For example, one of her college games pulled in 3.2 million viewers, outpacing a Warriors vs. Celtics clash at 3 million. Yes, women's basketball outperformed the NBA, but instead of celebrating this monumental shift, critics and even some WNBA players found reasons to hate. The numbers don't lie, but the league sure does. The WNBA wants to act like its success is the result of collective growth, but let's be real, it's Caitlin Clark dragging the league forward, kicking and screaming. Without her, those TV ratings plummet, those ticket sales nosedive, and those merchandise profits evaporate. The league should be bending over backward to keep her happy, not sticking to antiquated pay structures that scream, "We don't actually value you." Fans aren't blind to this nonsense. Social media is flooded with calls for change. People are pointing out the absurdity of her paycheck compared to her impact. It's not just about fairness, it's about business. You don't underpay the person responsible for your survival. That's not just bad optics, it's bad math. But apparently, the WNBA is too busy patting itself on the back for incremental growth to notice. The league is playing a dangerous game. If they don't adapt, they risk losing not just Clark, but the entire momentum she's created. Players like her aren't a dime a dozen, they're once-in-a-generation talents who can redefine a sport. If the WNBA doesn't figure out a way to pay her what she's worth, or at least close to it, don't be surprised if other leagues or opportunities come calling. And when that happens, the WNBA will have no one to blame but itself. Caitlin Clark, the rookie, drops a bombshell after making $10 million off the court. The basketball phenom, who's making less than the cost of a decent SUV in her first year on the court, has turned her modest paycheck into a PR goldmine. While others are sweating over their 9-to-5 grind, Caitlin is cashing six-figure checks just to show up and talk. And get this, some brands are willing to fork over more than the price of a house and fly her across the country just to have her grace their stage, while the WNBA throws her peanuts. Caitlin Clark has turned her off-the-court presence into a financial empire, stacking up $10 million in the process. Yes, that's right, the rookie everyone felt sorry for has more zeros in her bank account than some seasoned NBA veterans. For Clark, the transition from college to the WNBA wasn't just about showcasing her skills, it was about proving that she belonged at the highest level of the game. Critics like Swoops doubted Caitlin Clark's ability to handle the physicality and pace of the professional game, but Clark didn't just meet expectations, she shattered them. Her adaptability against defenses, ability to play through contact, and knack for making clutch plays in critical moments showcased a level of maturity rarely seen in first-year players. Swoop's initial critique of Clark wasn't limited to her playing style, she also questioned Clark's ability to lead a team, suggesting that her individual success might come at the expense of team cohesion. Once again, Clark defied expectations. Her unselfish play and ability to rally her teammates became one of the Fever's greatest strengths, solidifying her role as both a star player and a team leader. Whether it was her chemistry with veterans like Kelsey Mitchell or her mentorship of younger players, Caitlin Clark proved she was more than just a scorer, she was a leader. As the season progressed and Clark's impact became undeniable, Swoops shifted her narrative, focusing on other aspects of Clark's game while avoiding direct acknowledgement of her earlier predictions. This wasn't the first time Swoops' comments had missed the mark, but the stark contrast between her words and Clark's reality only added to the drama surrounding the ongoing feud. Clark's rookie campaign wasn't just a personal triumph, it was a pivotal moment for the Indiana Fever. After years of struggling to find an identity, the team finally had a star who could carry them into a new era. Her hunger to improve, combined with her relentless work ethic, made her a natural fit for White's vision. Caitlin isn't just a great player, she's a cornerstone for the future, White emphasized, cementing her importance to the team's future success. Stephanie White's tenure as the Indiana Fever head coach came with lofty expectations. After years of underperformance, the franchise needed more than just a tactical overhaul, they needed a cultural reset. From day one, White made it clear that her focus extended beyond X's and O's. She wanted to create a winning mentality, build trust within the locker room, and establish a team-first ethos. This philosophy became even more critical in the wake of Sheryl Swoop's pointed criticisms of the Fever's organization. Swoops painted a picture of discord, suggesting that players were unhappy and eager to leave. Her claims included sharp critiques of the Fever's management and coaching approach, alleging that the team failed to recognize talent and foster loyalty. Caitlin's hunger to improve is unmatched, White shared. She's not just looking to score points, she's looking to make everyone around her better. White also made it a priority to integrate Clark into the team's existing structure without alienating veteran players like Kelsey Mitchell. Swoops had criticized the Fever for their handling of Mitchell, an unrestricted free agent who had just come off a stellar season. White, however, was quick to highlight Mitchell's significance to the team's success, emphasizing her role in the team's continued growth and stability. Ensuring that Mitchell's contributions were both recognized and celebrated, White's balanced approach helped to dispel any notion of favoritism and reinforce the team's unity beyond individual relationships. She also addressed broader organizational changes that were essential for the Fever's resurgence. White implemented more rigorous training sessions, introduced analytics-driven game plans, and prioritized mental conditioning to prepare players for high-pressure situations.